Hello, Dr. Keesha here on Facebook Live to talk about the autoimmune-libido-gut connection. I love to do these videos because I love it that everyone joins me and asks fantastic questions. So if you have a question as I'm talking, make sure you say who you are, like, hello, Liz. It's good to see you. I would love to know where you're joining me from. And if you have any questions, make sure you write them so that I can answer them. I think that this is a great opportunity for me to be able to reach people and really answer the questions that they have that are burning inside of them. So I'm going to be talking about something that's near and dear to my heart. My doctorate is actually in sexology, and my research was in female sexual desire. So that's why this is the autoimmune libido-gut connection. Often people have already heard about the gut-brain connection, and that is absolutely a thing, but I wanted to bring a few other elements into this because you've probably already heard that your digestive system is the first place where you are healthy or not healthy. And if it's not on track, then nothing else will be, including your libido. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in this next little segment. And then the other thing that I want to talk about is a fantastic summit that I was a guest on. And I'm going to give you the link for how to access it. It's free. And we went into an hour-long conversation about this and had some pretty juicy little tidbits and information that I shared on that summit. So I'm going to invite you to join that summit, which is just in about 4 days it goes live. So if any of you are summit junkies out there, I wanted to let you know about this particular one, and you're going to find some fantastic digestive healing kinds of tips and information on it. So the gut libido autoimmune connection actually refers to this book that I actually published at the beginning of this year, which is Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle. And if you haven't read this, it'll go into more depth about what I'm talking about this evening. And so if you have questions or if it feels like it's not complete, I want you to access this book. And for that reason, we have put it at a really low price on Amazon for you. And I want to make sure that everybody has access to it. So you can go to Amazon and get it there. And the Kindle version is just next to nothing. So that anyone can get it and read it. Because what I talk about in there are the 4 corner pieces of solving any puzzle that is a chronic issue for you, whether it's your weight, your mood, your digestive issues, your skin problems, your energy level, or an actual illness that you have like thyroid problems or heart issues or any autoimmune disease, which there are 145 of those. Hello, Bonnie from Michigan. I'm so glad that you're joining. Remember, you guys that are on, if you have questions, you can ask them and I will make sure that I answer them. So those 4 corners of any chronic issue, whether it's low libido or an autoimmune disease or a digestive problem, are listed out in Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle. And they are your leaky gut, right, which we're going to talk about here in a minute, your genetics, your exposure to toxins and your body's ability to rid yourself of those toxins, and past childhood adverse experiences. And in Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle, I talk in great depth about the adverse childhood experiences study, which talks about how when we're young, when we go through experiences, and every one of us as children went through these experiences, it doesn't have to be sexual abuse or domestic violence or psychological or emotional abuse. It can also be where you felt rejected by peers, or you didn't do well in school on a test, or you didn't do well in academics or physical education, or you name it. All of us have had experiences where when we're small children and our brains aren't fully developed yet, we make up meanings about those experiences, which then create the beliefs that we carry into adulthood, which then create behaviors that we have as strategies that will inform what we put on the end of our fork and in our cups, and how we spend our time, our money, who we get into relationship with, and how our adult health actually maps out. So this is really, really important information. And I really like for people to understand it clearly, because those four corners are like when you're solving any puzzle, you go after the four corner pieces to start. Then you have those edge pieces that are in between. And I call that the freedom framework, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So when we talk about leaky gut, this is where your gut wall, or the little one cell layer thick lining inside of your intestinal tract, has started to pull apart. And those little cells are supposed to be attached together like little tight junctions. And when they're not tight anymore, they're called loose junctions. This is one place where medicine got their naming really easy and simple and concise. So loose junctions allow your partially digested food material and feces to get caught in between those junctions, and that becomes a mess. It's just like having food between your teeth and you can't floss down there, so it just builds up. And it becomes an environment where little critters that you really don't want to have on board, like candida or parasites or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, can thrive. These guys love that leaky gut environment with all of that stuff caught in between your cells. So what we have to do is understand that when you've got those partially digested food particles caught in between those cells, you have to understand that your gut wall can then become permeable. Hello. Oh my goodness, I can tell my eyes are starting to go crazy. Janine, great example. Oh, I'm glad you like that. Yes, you can't floss your gut wall. So when those food particles start to escape through the gut wall, your immune system, which is really supposed to do this, it's supposed to attack anything that's not you, will go after those food particles, calling them an enemy, okay, and creating an antibody against them. And then that creates inflammation. Hi, Jeannie. It's good to see you. I'm going to see you again tomorrow night on the Academy for Integrative Medicine Health Coach Certification Program case study call. Hi, Cindy. Good to see you too. Wow. Been a long time since I saw you. So as these food particles, your immune system is starting to attack them, you wind up with inflammation. And when you have inflammation, your body perceives that as a stressful event, just like any other stressful event that you might have. And so you release something from your adrenal glands called cortisol, which you are releasing in response to stress. So your body is attacking your food, your body is at war with your food. That is then perceived as stress by the mind, which then sends down the neurotransmitters responsible for activating your stress response. Hi, Deborah. Good to see you too. I'm going to see you tomorrow night on a case study call. So when your body perceives something as stressful and that cortisol is released, cortisol is meant for you, just like a zebra that's being chased by a lion and it's trying to get out of danger and it thinks the lion's about to eat it for dinner. That zebra knows it's not safe in that moment to reproduce. Hi, Heather, or Hester, good to see you. Like, sorry, I'm going to have to start wearing cheater glasses, I'm afraid, when I see these little fonts. So if the zebra thinks it's about to get eaten by the lion, then it knows it's not safe to stop and reproduce. It knows it's not safe to stop and have a bowel movement, right? So everything that has to do with digestion and sex shuts down. So that's what I want everyone to understand. Not only does cortisol break down your gut wall, okay, that's one of the primary things that loosens the junctions in your cells that protect your gut wall is cortisol. It's the stress response. So you've often heard that stress is a bad guy. But actually what I want you to understand is that stress isn't a bad guy. It's how we perceive our stress. You're never going to get away from stress. That's what life consists of. It's a whole bunch of stressful experiences strung together by times of contentment and rest. And you can think of it as a necklace, and it will just keep going and going and going until you die. So as long as you're attached to the idea that you can only be content and restful, you're going to suffer, because that's just absolutely not the way life works. It's not the agreement that life has made with us. Remember, even coming into the world is a stressful event. We have to work hard and we have to push through, quite literally, and then we cry. And that is the way we begin our life. And then we slip out at the end of life, and usually there's some struggle involved with that too as we give up our last breath. If anyone's watched that before, it doesn't look that peaceful. So if we have an expectation that our lives are going to be just content and we're not going to have stress, then we're going to be disappointed a lot, okay? So every time that we have those stressful events, we start breaking down our gut wall. If we're releasing cortisol and we're perceiving them as stressful, then what happens is we get more and more inflammation. Now, as you age, this gets worse because your gut wall, of course, is having this happen more and more often, and it's called critical mass. In my book, Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle, I have a graphic in there, and it's of a barge, and it's got little parts, being put on the barge, big containers. And what I say is if it's not balanced or too much goes on that barge, then the barge capsizes. So you want to know that actually that's your body too. We're a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe. Hi, Pamela. It's so good to see you. So if we're a microcosm of the macrocosm of the universe, which is an Ayurvedic principle, hi, Deborah. Good to see you. Then that means everything that occurs outside of us occurs inside of us too. And you can take a look at, an elemental table that you learned in science, and all of those elements are contained inside the human body. We're made up of everything that the earth is made up of, which means we're just like dirt. So knowing our unique composition and how to adjust according to the seasons and the experiences we have is our way to wisdom. When we can do that with some flexibility, that creates what we call resilience. And the more resilience your mind has, the more resilient your gut wall is. And the more resilient your gut wall is, the better your libido is, and the less likely you are to get autoimmune disease. So that brings us back to the title of this particular segment on Facebook Live here, and that is that it's the Autoimmune-Libido-Gut connection. Well, autoimmune, as any of you that are probably listening to my voice know, I had an autoimmune disease 22 years ago. I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, and 6 months later I was able to reverse it with no medications. I had breast cancer 10 years later. I was able to reverse that with no medications. So this is possible. I had Lyme's disease. I used to work for the Forest Service in high school. I was bitten by so many ticks. And sure enough, I had Lyme disease. I was able to reverse that with no medications. I have Epstein-Barr virus. I kissed a lot of people with mono apparently in high school also. And guess what? I was able to reverse that with no medications. Why? Because the resilience of your mind has everything to do with the resilience of your immune system. So this is what that study I was referring to earlier. Remember the 4 corners of the puzzle. One of the corners is adverse childhood experiences. Study goes like this. There was the study that was done between 1995 and 1997, and the findings were that over 2/3 of the over 17,000 participants in the study had an ACE score of at least 1, which means some kind of neglect, some kind of trauma, whether it was capital T trauma or lowercase t trauma. And I talked about that earlier. It's not all about sexual abuse, right? It's also rejection, failing at something, creating meanings in your mind that don't serve you in adulthood because the beliefs that they create are getting in your way. They're self-limiting. So those adverse childhood experiences, science has shown us, put us at higher risk for autoimmune disease, for cancer, for heart disease, for not taking care of ourselves. So all of you ladies that are listening to me right now, we're the worst about this, about taking care of other people so that we can feel worthwhile, and then not taking care of ourselves, expecting other people to pay attention to us and be able to read us the same way we can do for them. That doesn't work. And I'm sure, if you're my age, 52 or older, you've already realized that. You've got to learn to self-scan and take care of you. But if you have an ACE score of 1 or more, you're less likely to do that. So that's a learned skill, something that you have to learn to do in adulthood. And that's the great news about all the stuff that I'm talking about, is it's all reversible. All you have to do is learn the new skill. Hi, Jennifer. It's good to see you. So all of you guys that are joining, make sure you like this post and share it, because this is information we want everyone to have. We remember that we're living in a time right now where all these women are coming out with all of the traumas that they've had in their lifetimes, and really saying, gosh, my job, I had men doing this, and I had this happen in my childhood, and this was going on. And what I'm trying to help people see is that yes, those terrible things happen to us and we can heal from them. I do a retreat, Hester was at it last November. There's another one on January 18th, and it's a Mystic Medicine Deep Immersion Retreat. And what we do is we work on the medicine wheel, I call it, with unwinding those stories and the effect that they have on your inner being, looking at your beliefs and seeing how they're tied up with how you feel in your body, how your hormone balance is, how your libido is, how your digestive system is. Thank you, Hester. It was fantastic. What an amazing group of people. So, hi, Shelley. It's good to see you. So in that retreat setting like that, we get an opportunity to reframe some of those meanings and beliefs that we created in childhood. And the reason for that is because they put us at higher risk for autoimmune disease, just like I'm talking about. So autoimmune disease, there are over 145 diseases are classified now as autoimmune, and that number is still growing. We never used to know that osteoporosis, for example, was autoimmune, or heart disease was autoimmune. But now we know it is. It's inflammation, and it's creating an environment where the body is attacking itself. So anytime you're attacking yourself, this is autoimmune. You're killing yourself, in effect. And that always you can trace back to the health of your digestive system, like we've already talked about, leaky gut, your adverse childhood experiences, again, that we just talked about, and your toxins. Now, some of those toxins that we get exposed to are not just mercury fillings in the teeth, or Lyme disease like an infection, or Epstein-Barr like I had, or the chemicals in your fish or in your water or in the soil or in the air. They're also your thoughts. Those can be very, very toxic. And in that deep immersion retreat that we do, where you come, you spend 3 days on San Juan Island off the coast of Washington in my home with me and 7 other participants in the retreat, and we actually look at those toxic thought patterns and change them from automatic negative thoughts, or what I call ants, into automatic positive thoughts. So what we want to do is we want to say, okay, that's linked to how I'm feeling, my thought processes. What do I say in my mind when I wake up in the morning? Now realize this title of this segment is the Autoimmune-Libido-Gut Connection. So your libido, how is that tied to your thoughts? Oh my gosh, so closely tied. So I did a study in 2003 called the Healing Unresolved Trauma Study, or HURT study, and I talk about it in Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle, and also in the Libido Cure program that I have online on my website. And what I found, I had all these women coming in and wanting hormones, and I found that oftentimes when I asked them if they even liked their partners, they would start to cry. And I would ask what's happening, and they would say, well, they're not as emotionally connected to me as I want, or he's just gotten a new job and he's gone all the time, or he abused me, or he had an affair, or anything, right? Any of these things that make you feel unsafe or like you don't want to be vulnerable, because remember, sex is the most vulnerable time for you. You're literally opening up everything for another person. So if you don't feel safe with them or connected with them enough, then oftentimes your libido will go down, and it isn't a factor of hormones as the root cause, right? Your hormones are affected when you feel unsafe, when you go into fight or flight. Your hormones will start to diminish. But in actuality, I call it patching the hole in the bottom of your boat. You actually need to fix the root cause. So the 5 root causes of low libido are the same 5 root causes for autoimmune disease or for osteoporosis, right? For any of the things we're talking about. The 5 root causes are going to be either physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, or in your story. And it's not an either or. It can be all 5 of those are having some sort of imbalance that need to be balanced. So this is how your gut and your libido and any autoimmune disease you might have are all connected. It's all the same root cause. It's the same four corners of the puzzle. So you want to understand and simplify that. It's not so hard. And estrogen and testosterone and progesterone are not the full answer to anything anymore than just going gluten-free is for autoimmune disease. So I get patients in my office that have spent literally thousands of dollars on protocols and supplements and laboratory testing with functional medicine doctors, and they're so frustrated because all that's been dealt with is the leaky gut part, the toxicity part, and the genetics part, and not the component of the adverse childhood experiences and what those meanings are that you created when you were a kid. So genetics, every single thing that I've talked about so far, the toxins, the leaky gut, and the adverse childhood experiences impact how you express your genetics. So in my case with rheumatoid arthritis, when I was 30, I wound up following along the genetic lineage of my grandfather who had had RA. But he died with it and I was able to shut it off. Okay, so you don't have to be a victim of your genetic line. I often have people come in and they say, well, my parents have diabetes, so that's why my hemoglobin A1C is high. And I say, no. That's, yes, that is then a tendency that you will have because of your genetics, but it does not need to be written in stone. So we have to do something different than what your parents did. And the cool thing is that now that we do have the ability to do genetic testing, we can see what those things would be that need to be changed. And our parents didn't have that. They didn't have that kind of ability to have individualized precision medicine the way we do today. And no one was looking at their thoughts and belief structures because no one talked about that then. So we live in a time that's kind of exciting. You know, it sort of feels like it's a little hard out there and polarized. People will say, gosh, I've never seen it so polarized. But I mean, we have waves of that in our country and in our history, and all we have to do is look. Every generation's had their own. So it's getting beyond that and just paying attention. What can I control? What can I do to become more resilient in everything that I do, from my marriage, my parenting, my job, my relationship with the government, with my neighbors, with God, with everything. You want to be very resilient. And that's part of what I teach, you know, in the Mystic Medicine Deep Immersion Retreat, which, incidentally, the next one, if you want to join me, is January, the weekend of the 18th in 2018. You can go on DrKeesha.com, which is DrKeesha.com, and under retreats, it has information there. And we do lab testing ahead of time, so you get to see what's going on, put you on a cleanse before you come out, and so it's good timing right after the holidays. And then when you get out there, we do this deep immersion stuff, and it's incredible. And then we do a follow-up phone call, and we include everything in the costs, except for your airfare to Seattle, and from there we take it. So look at that and see if you think like you're a good candidate to do that, and we'd love to have you join us. We have 2 slots left for that. Now, I told you I'm on a summit that's starting to air December 8th, and it's Summer Bach, and it's called the Better Belly Project. And she's talking to, I think, 49 other people about gut health. So what I really want you to do is to look into that. It's free. Hi, Carla. It's good. Listening from Houston, Texas. It's good to see you. I lost some vision in my left eye from optic neuritis. I'm hoping that I do not have MS. Okay, so this is a great comment. I'm so sorry you've lost vision, Carla. I had a wonderful radio guest. If you go to DrKeesha.com, it has radio. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I interviewed a functional optometrist by the name of Dr. Stephen Lin. I think his name's Stephen, but Dr. Lin. And he wrote the, something about the good eyesight diet. Anyway, if you look at that interview, listen to it, we go through a lot of the very common optical issues, and he talks about them in a way that's not scary, the way that most standard American optometrists talk about it as scary, he actually demystifies everything and pulls it down to the way I do with autoimmune disease, just about inflammation and getting to the root cause, looking at those four corners. So MS, RA, optic neuritis, osteopenia, osteoporosis, diabetes. In my book, in Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle, I have a graphic of a bucket. And what I've done is I drew all of the diseases, all those names that I just said, eczema, psoriasis, Raynaud's disease. I put them all in that same bucket that's labeled autoimmunity. It doesn't really matter what the name of it is, whether it's MS or something else. Optic neuritis already says, whether you have MS or not, that you have inflammation. And so it's really important that you get to the root cause of it using those four corners of the puzzle. So I would recommend to you that you look at food sensitivities, an IgG food sensitivity test, looking at some genetics, and we stop that inflammation as soon as possible. If you want to work with me, you can go to DrKeesha.com. Also, one of my health coaches is on this right now, Hester Morrissey, and you can reach out to her and she can help you. Janine, I'm using ginkgo for my eyes and diet changes, of course. Yes. Excuse me. We don't want to rule out the diet component. That's so important. And so anytime someone has inflammation, and I'm going to say whether it's your eyes, your elbows, your knees, your period, your skin, no, it doesn't matter. Inflammation is inflammation. It doesn't matter where the target tissue is. If your immune system has a bow and an arrow and it's shooting arrows at a target, it doesn't matter what the target is. We don't want to pay just attention to your eyes with optic neuritis. We want to actually say, okay, there's something going on in the gut with this archer that's shooting arrows at the target tissue. So one autoimmune diagnosis puts you at risk for 75% chance of getting another autoimmune disease and another one. And the reason for that is because we focus solely on the target and moving it around instead of going up to the archer and saying, excuse me, can you put that bow and arrow down and stop shooting arrows? So remember, that's yourself that's doing that. So you've got to say, excuse me, self, what's happening? What do you need from me right now? And what we do is we get very afraid, especially when it's your eyes, because we don't want to lose eyesight. And we say, oh, how do I stop this? Instead of, why do I have it? That's so important to ask. Why am I hurting myself right now? So, Carla, I would recommend when it's eyes like that, you say, what am I not seeing? And so everybody with any kind of inflammatory issue, autoimmune issue, I take them off of sugar, I take them off of soy, off of dairy, off of grains, off of processed foods, caffeine, unhealthy fats, and fried foods and processed foods, and then just all packaged processed foods. And I get them on instead 9 to 12 cups of a rainbow variety of vegetables, a good source of clean protein every meal, and healthy fats like coconut oil and avocado oil and seeds. So those are the kinds of things that you're going to want to pay attention to. Remove anything that can cause inflammation. Now I live in Seattle, and you can imagine the pushback I get when I take people off of coffee, the land of Starbucks. But coffee is an inflammation-causing food, so is alcohol. So taking you off of sugar, alcohol, and coffee, really, really, really important. And then grains, of course, and dairy. And our agribusiness culture are not very healthy for us. So just taking yourself off of all those foods and then doing the testing that I recommended just a minute ago, and it's in Solving the Autoimmune Puzzle, gets you going in the right direction. So I would encourage you to do that because your eyesight is worth saving. You don't want to have that be a problem. All right, so this is a time of year when people are often very, very stressed. And I have to say, I'm right up there. Our clinic is closing down here, our physical location, and we're moving. And there's just a lot happening right now in my life and the life of my family. And that happens, like I said. It's like waves coming in, right, from the ocean. You don't sit and scream at the waves when they come in. You go, oh, tide's in, and then the tide goes back out. And you have to just understand that's what happens. So right now for me, the tide is in. And I found that, I told you, I haven't had rheumatoid arthritis or any autoimmune issue since I was 30. And just, I think, 4 days ago, with this tremendous, I haven't been under this amount of stress for a really long time. Big crisis happened in my life. I started getting rosacea and breaking out on my skin. Now, I don't put makeup on my skin, so right now I don't have any on, and I just have it on my eyes. You can see it's pretty smooth right now, but 4 days ago or so, this little red dot that's there, I had it all over my face. I woke up and I was just inflamed, and I said, oh, I know where that's coming from. And that's a good feedback. Like, your eyes are just good feedback. They're saying, oh, there's something going on here. And so if you can non-emotionally ask the question, why do I have this? Which I knew right away why I had it. So I started doing a couple things. I started taking a supplement that we have on our store and on DrKeesha.com called Autoimmune-Libido-Gut. And what it does is it helps your immune system. I also have rosacea. Yeah, so rosacea you had first, and that's a warning sign. Hello, Anita. The rosacea has been telling you that there's something out of whack. Rosacea is an autoimmune disease already. So the optic piece is just another one, right? The archer is going after the second target. So what I did is I started on Autoimmune-Libido-Gut. I would get on that right away, Carla. It's on DrKeesha.com. 1 scoop in water, along with a scoop of L-glutamine, okay, couple scoops, 8 grams. And then I've got this sitting right here because I'm about to take it. It's called Calm and Clear. And this is also on our store. The stuff works really well. My students love it. Their clients love it. My patients love it. I had never really used it very much. So 4 days ago, I started on this, a scoop every morning and a scoop at night, along with the Autoimmune-Libido-Gut, 1 scoop in the morning and 1 scoop at night, and the L-glutamine, 8 grams, which is 3 scoops, twice a day. And lo and behold, and then I started doing the stress-busting toolkit that's also on my store, which is autogenic training and progressive relaxation. I started implementing that again in my life. I guess I had gotten away from it when I started into the move, which is what we do, right? So I was eating really clean. Nothing with my diet was off. I've been clean since I was 30. But my stress was so high. Hester says Calm and Clear is one of my absolute favorites. So calming, and it tastes good. It does. It tastes so good. Autoimmune-Libido-Gut tastes terrible. Oh, Mary Agnes, hi! And she loves the stress-busting toolkit. Yes, so those 3 supplements and the stress-busting toolkit, and my rosacea went away in 2 days. 2 days. So this is it now. I have 1 little dot right there, and that's the only thing. So that's just feedback. So remember that your gut, when it's off, is just going to give you feedback. And it's important that you don't take it as a shaming or a blaming or judging it as bad. It's just feedback. And when you can do that, then you ask the right questions. Why? Why is this happening? Why is my libido low? Why do I have an autoimmune issue? Why am I not pooping every day the way I'm supposed to? 1 banana-shaped poop a day. That's your goal. Why does my skin look like this? Why is my energy in the tank? Why am I cranky? Why, just ask those questions. Why? And what you're doing then is you're getting into a collaborative relationship with your body. You're getting on its team. For every 5 minutes that you're upset, it takes your body 8 hours to recover, which is staggering if you think about it. The first time I heard that, I thought, my gosh, I'm so in debt to my body. Just in case anyone else needs it. Oh, she's given, Mary Agnes says it changed her life and she's given the link. Thank you, Mary Agnes. Oh, you're such a sweet, dear soul sister. So you just want to pay attention to that and say, for every 5 minutes, it takes my body 8 hours to recover. What the stress-busting toolkit, the autogenic training does, is it actually gets you 1 for 1. So for every minute you're upset, it takes you 1 minute to recover, which is a little more equitable for your body, because your mind can get back into a good zone. You can talk yourself out of issues, but if your body is still off to the races, that's when you get sick. And that happens starting in childhood. Okay, starting in childhood. That's why this childhood piece that we talked about earlier is so important to address. All right, if anyone doesn't have any more questions, I'm actually going to wrap up. I want to encourage you to watch the Better Belly Project with Summer Bach. Her summit starts on December 8th. I am going to put the link for that in the chat area when I get on my computer so that you guys can register for that. It's free. Myself and many other amazing speakers are going to be talking about gut tips and good health. So remember, when you listen to those summits, though, I have so many people who listen to brain ones and Alzheimer ones and all these different things, and then they come to me so confused. Remember that everybody's different, and there's no one size fits all. So if you hear something, you have to then remember to do the testing piece of it to see if it applies to you. So we're all our own unique individual beings. All right, it's been so much fun spending time with you. I wish you the greatest of evenings. And I will see you online and answer any questions following this. Pamela, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. It's so much fun to see everybody. Have a great night, everybody.